Hey guys, welcome back. Now, literally just before I hit record on this video, my voice was holding up pretty well, but suddenly, now that I hit record for this video, it's not wanting to cooperate. So, I've got myself some tea. Today, I've got a vanilla chai. I'm feeling extra spicy, and it's probably because the book that we're talking about today, I've got some opinions, and I hope I don't make anyone mad. And also because my son went on this field trip today and discovered the tea bar. And it was the funniest thing because he was just like, oh man, the tea bar. We spent all this time trying all these different kinds of teas. And I was like, we have like a bunch of teas in the drawer before, right? And I've offered him tea many times and he's like, oh no, I don't like tea. I swear to goodness, it just goes to show if it comes from the parents, they automatically reject it. If it comes from his peers or something they find cool, it's suddenly the coolest thing ever. Whatever. Anyways, his favorite was chai tea, and I guess I was just feeling like I wanted to have some chai tea myself. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into talking about Brave by Rose McGowan. This is the third celebrity memoir that I have read in the last month. Rose McGowan is an actress. One of the reasons I'm finding that I'm actually interested in certain celebrity memoirs is because I enjoy their work. I don't really see myself ever picking up something from a celebrity that like I don't know their work or don't care for like the movies that they're in or whatever. So Jeanette McCurdy aside, but not necessarily watched her work, but the whole Dan Schneider stuff, that's where I was following, so that's how I got connected with her story. I do really like Rose McGowan's movies that I have seen, and right off the top of my head, I remember two roles that she played in particular, but then as I started kind of preparing for this video, I remember she had some other roles, and I've definitely seen those movies. When I think of Rose McGowan, I always think of Charmed and the character from Death Proof with the gun for a leg. She was such a badass in that movie. In Charmed, I really grew to like Paige's character. The change from Shannon Doherty to Rose McGowan was a difficult transition for me to start out with. Shannon Doherty is another actress that I really enjoyed. I really liked her role and her personality in Charmed. Like, she was definitely the older sister. I was really sad to see her go, but I did really grow to like Rose McGowan, filling as the third Charmed sister. And I feel that they gave her a really interesting story. Charmed as a whole was such an awesome show. And I don't think I have yet to finish the entire series. I don't know where I left off. I also really liked the Grindhouse movies and Rose McGowan in Death Proof. And if you don't know, Grindhouse had two parts. There was Death Proof, and then I forgot the title of the other one, but Rose McGowan had a role in Death Proof where she was like this chick with a missing leg. So they replaced her leg with a gun, and it was just really cool. I did hear briefly that she was dating Manson, but beyond that, I didn't really know much about her. I was really surprised by her voice in this book, and I don't mean like she actually narrated this book herself, and also when you start it out, I didn't know she was a singer either, but she is, I guess, doing some music now. In the beginning of this book, she has a singing part, so it's actually really good. I'm gonna have to look and see if I can't find, her music, which I always say that and then I completely forget. Anyway, so she had this really interesting start to her life, and I don't know if interesting is probably the best word because it's kind of actually disturbing, but she was born into a cult, and it's a very famous cult called the Children of God. And I guess they have followers all over the world. Suddenly, I'm seeing a lot more things about this cult like popping up. I've even seen head titles, captions calling them one of the worst cults ever. That's quite a tall order because I don't think there's been any cult that isn't just deeply disturbing. And I know I'm hesitant to watch some videos on the cult just because I know I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and waste so many hours hearing people's talks about this cult. But anyways, she was born in Italy in this cult, And not the fact that she was born into a cult, but I thought that it was really cool that she was born in Italy. So I guess the cult was just a community of people when it started, but as things started to change, and I guess they got new leaders, or there was a change and things started to get worse. And so her father had taken her and her siblings and left and came to America. Unfortunately, their mom was not ready to leave, I guess, at this time, and so they had to leave her behind. This, as you could imagine, was a very difficult transition. She pointed out in different ways how America and Americans were very different than people in Italy. She did seem to understand that the community she was brought up in was changing and becoming a dangerous place because of certain things that she had witnessed, which I cannot imagine. That would be so gross. And I won't say it here. So then she kind of goes into talking about how and why she got into Hollywood and acting. And she said it was basically just a need for money because they were so strapped for cash. And she claims that it was for no other reason except for a job. I'm making some notes because as I'm going over this, I'm like, I want to circle back around to these things when I get into the other opinions. 1 second. Okay, so then she starts talking about the different jobs that she had as an actor and some people that she had the unfortunate encounters with. Most notably, Harvey Weinstein, who apparently aggressively harmed her, among many other exploitive behaviors of men, of powerful people in the industry, as well as like kind of the games that you have to play, the image that she was to them when they saw her. And I hate to add to this disgraceful box that they put her in, and it seems like because of that, because of the way they saw her, I think that she rejects that. And I guess that's really common for people who have suffered through, they're looking around and they're like, oh my God, they're like undressing me with their eyes. I feel gross. I feel icky. Let me take away my femininity, or like, let me be gross so they don't want to do that to me anymore. And so I'm very empathetic to that feeling. But one of the reasons I really like her as an actress because I thought she's so beautiful. And it's hard being pretty, just saying. I mean, she definitely has that bombshell quality to her. Many girls would love to look like her. And I won't share about the guys because Rose McGowan will definitely share in graphic, raw, unfiltered thoughts with vulgar language. Exactly what she thinks in this book. Overall, I really enjoyed hearing her side of the story and hearing tidbits about her life. I do, however, have quite a few criticisms, but before I mention them, don't come for me. I follow many stories about actors being violated, abused, harassed, stolen from their funds, their money that they've worked for, stolen from their nearest and dearest family members, and it's just truly appalling. In ways, I completely agree with Rose calling Hollywood and the industry, the entertainment industry, a cult. And as we learn more and more between Scientology, which is made up of so many celebrities, which is kind of weird, Epstein Island, and now most recently, this whole thing going down with P. Diddy, apparently cornering the music industry much like Epstein cornered the politics and actors. It's like a multifaceted cult within cults within cults. And I can see where some conspiracy theories really seem to have some, I can kind of see where people are coming up with some conspiracy theories that there's a lot of evidence backing up these theories. But I'm in no way, shape, or form victim blaming or questioning her experiences of abuse and what happened to her. That is not the thing that I am critiquing. The things that I will be critiquing are the book and some questions that I have where I feel that she didn't really fill in the reader as much as she could have. And that probably could go into maybe her whole purpose behind the book, what her aim and what her goal was by writing this book. But I personally just felt like it could be a lot more impactful, especially for me, if she had maybe done it a little bit differently. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. Why do hot drinks go cold so fast? Okay, so she wraps up her life story and her career and then has this call to action. And that's another reason why I feel like this story in particular was not just her wanting to tell her story to bring awareness just simply by telling her story. Like, she wants something from the reader, she wants something from us. So if I'm going to give her something, I need more in return. Like, that's where I feel like she's asking me to be a part of this. So I'm going to ask questions before I jump on that bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? So I felt that the delivery was quite off. It's just very abrasive, very forceful and angry, as well as it should be. I get that she's extremely angry. I'd be very angry. I'm angry for her. But I feel like when people are angry, they get a bit of tunnel vision. And for outsiders who are, yes, empathetic, of course, it's just hard for me not to see the other things that she kind of fails to bring into the equation. I feel that there were some parts of her life story that were a bit glossed over, and I completely understand if these instances are too traumatic to go into detail. And I'm not talking about those exact traumatic events. I think it's just like, okay, we're in Italy, and she kind of gives a little bit of like story, but I don't feel like I could connect to what that was like. And then when they moved to America, she has like a handful of ways that things were difficult for her and that making that transition. And I would actually have to reread those parts to have like to know exactly what it was she said was different. And I think for one thing was the food. That was really hard. I think something about going places was different. Connecting with people, maybe. I can't remember. Oh, I really wish I could remember. I feel like it was very surface level, and I felt like I wanted to know, maybe instead of just being like, yeah, the food was different, be like, maybe tell the story in a little bit more detail, or maybe a little bit more comparison to how Italy was so much more fulfilling and why America couldn't live up to those standards, because that would just give a much deeper connection, for instance. And then I feel like, she's kind of jumping from like big events because she can't wait to get to her primary purpose for this book, which was to have this call to action, get everyone to do something. Don't follow the cult of entertainment. They're all predators kind of thing. And I know that I'm coming from a perspective where I have just read two really amazing, heartfelt memoirs from Britney Spears detailing all the things, her life. And when it goes to things that were difficult for her, which were embarrassing for her, she does give us the gory details. For lack of a better word, she does give us those details. I think if you're going to tell a memoir, you need to be prepared to give us those details, because I feel like maybe Rose only gave us what you could already read about her in any other article. There might have been a couple other things with her relationship with Marilyn Manson that maybe we didn't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel like there was anything that we didn't already know in her memoir. And then with Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mother Died, she really connects you to her deep emotions, her thought process, and you can fully understand the multi-layers of trauma that she has experienced. And that's something else we don't get from Rose McGowan's book. I get that these terrible things happened, but I want to know how it deeply affected her. And not just that she's angry. Angry is your first initial response, but after you're done being angry, then how does that feel? And you just get the angry side of her. I think something else too is, like, for instance, Brittany and Jeanette's books, they're not asking anything from the reader, but just by them telling their story, we cannot help but feel deeply sad and disturbed and aware. I want to act on their behalf. But the delivery of Rose's book being so like, okay, this bad thing happened to me, now everyone, you need to do something about it, is like, whoa, hold on. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but like, you're really coming at me strong, And so I just feel like, you catch more bees with honey or something. I don't know. So I just feel like Rose maybe had a lot more opportunity to kind of instill these deeper connections with the reader, and she kind of missed that opportunity. But That does not mean, I feel like I have to reiterate, because it is a really difficult choice to kind of critique someone's story and someone's life. So don't get it twisted. Doesn't mean I don't care. That does not mean that I don't care at all. Of course I do. So because of how she kind of glosses things over, there were a few instances where I feel that she wasn't telling you the whole story. Like her real experience dating Marilyn Manson. That was kind of a big deal. I feel like a lot of people would have really liked to know more about that time of her life, especially with all the allegations going on that he's got going on with Evan Rachel Wood. However, if he's truly that kind of like a scary guy that is going to come for you legally, I mean, he probably could get her in trouble for like smearing her, and she maybe just doesn't want to go to deal with all that. And he is a real person, he's got his own career, so I understand maybe taking a step back from that and not trying to like throw him under the bus or doing anything like that. And she does go into a little bit more of her emotions, that while dating him, she really fell in love with him, and that a lot of their time together was just like hanging out, watching TV. And again, she talks about how they ended the relationship, and she definitely glossed over that as well. Just it seems like there's something missing. But again, I really don't fault her for that, because as I look at that whole situation retrospectively, I mean, she probably does have to like mind herself. I mean, she doesn't want to get into any legal issues with him probably. And maybe they are still friends, and she just doesn't want a scandal, or like maybe she doesn't want to put that attention on him or something. Okay, so this next thing that I kind of have a big issue with, and this is one of those things where I just don't know how I feel about it. It just feels off, and I'm not trying to make I feel like if anyone's gonna get mad at me, they're gonna get mad at me for this. And I understand that, like, in the moment, or like whatever, in that moment, she's been like, this is a good idea, and then not really like connected the two emotions or feelings or whatever. And maybe she hadn't, at that time in her life, she might not have come to that realization that, like, how she feels today and how she's explaining things today might not have been in her mind during that time, the time this picture is taken. But let's just get into it. I'm just going to say it, and maybe it'll open up more discussion for anything later. So she rages on about how everyone, and let's go ahead and say it as she says it, all men have objectified her. And they see her only as this sexualized thing. They only see her as this sexualized thing that they can use. And she also says that that's one of the reasons she shaved her head, because her hair is like a big, defining part of her look, and so she shaved her head. But I have this picture and I can't show it because I feel that it is not appropriate for my channel anyways. I mean, it's appropriate for the internet. So anyways, you probably know if you look it up, it's this picture of the see-through dress while she's standing next to Manson, and she's wearing no underwear either. Like, no, not even a bra, like nips, everything. And I think strippers probably wear more clothes than that, and that's saying a lot. But I just have to ask, that was her choice, and then she's mad. I can't help but think about the girls who go to the gym wearing very skimpy clothes and yoga pants that ride up their bum, and then stand in front of a guy and bend over and then get mad that they looked. That's just what so yeah. But let me backpedal on this issue. So there is a big difference in if you made the choice to wear that and flaunt it and feel sexy about yourself. And I didn't think about this until Bella Thorne actually brought this up in a video that I really watched. Bella Thorne actually talks about this, and I thought that it was a really nice, fresh new perspective on the situation. So there's a difference if you make the choice, you want to wear the see-through dress, flaunt it, feel sexy, great. You want the attention, that's great. Be happy about that. Or some guy producing like a show or whatever, telling you what to wear or what not to wear, and they are making the choice for you when you don't feel comfortable. There's a big difference between your choice and someone else's choice. So there's that. But if that is the case, I feel like she probably should have some sort of conversation around that in the book, and maybe had some really objective readers that could maybe help her fill in certain things and like explain her headspace for these questions that will come up, like just like questions like this that I have, because I'm sure she has a reason, but it's just that she didn't really flush that reason out. So I'm just looking at this like, you're kind of hypocritical, but I don't want to believe that she's just being hypocritical, or she just wants, I want to believe that like there was another reason. It just wasn't explained in the book. For example, back to Britney Spears' memoir. A lot of people in her case can't understand why she didn't leave the conservatorship, why she was stuck there for so long. I mean, she managed to get help. Now, why wait so long? And she did explain her headspace, her fears, her limitations, and her mental health, so you could really understand like why. And I also feel like never in Brittany or Jeanette's books were they just like, you know what, F them all, they're just mean and I hate them, and leave it there. She gave I feel like Rose kind of does that a lot, like, oh yeah, it's just kind of like grouping everyone together. Oh, all men in the entertainment business are in cults, and gets very conspiracy on it. So backpedaling again, back to at the beginning where she talks about her reason of getting into stardom, and she kind of plays it so cool, like, oh yeah, well, we just needed money, so I got into acting. And I just don't feel like that's the whole story. That kind of feels off to me. Like, people don't just walk into an acting job looking for a job. They walk into a Denny's looking to be a waiter. Unless she was just walking down the street and picked up because she was pretty, and some producer walked up to her and said, hey, I think you should be an actor. Why don't you try out for my movie? Some older actors have been so fortunate to experience that, but I don't think that kind of thing really happens these days, because there are just thousands of people like trying out. I don't know, maybe that still happens today. Anyways, I just feel like there's definitely more to the story. I feel like she's kind of downplaying why she really wanted to get into acting. It's a little unfortunate that I left her book feeling like she was being less than honest, a little bit prideful, overly feminist, the whole all men are creeps kinds of things, and ironically cult leader-ish in the tactic that she's using to call forth women to unplug from the cult of entertainment as a whole and rage against the machine. Her claims against the Hollywood cult, the entertainment cult, is also littered with a bunch of conspiracy comments that feel a little outlandish, a little out there. I think for the general public to really kind of trust her and not feel like she's just like a wacky person talking about conspiracies. And also her use of vulgar language. I have a hard time taking her seriously. It also kind of feels a little performative, because it's called like a memoir about her life, but she only gives like a little smidgen about her life and withholds a lot and glosses over a lot. And as I said before, I don't feel like there's a lot in here that you probably haven't already read in tabloids or other articles or heard in interviews. Like, it's not anything that isn't already out there, which means she doesn't want to tell you. Just to kind of recap my ideas that I've kind of gone through is, again, with the dress, it feels a little hypocritical, as well as seeing other articles about her Twitter feud and other actions I can't really take seriously. A Twitter feud. If she believes so wholeheartedly in this Hollywood cult, then why Twitter? Why not delete your account? Why still be on there? Why have open feuds for everyone to weigh in on? I feel like if someone has something to say, they should come and like DM me, email me, so that we can talk about it one-on-one and not have a million other people in on this conversation that should just be an AB conversation. So, in other words, that feels a little hypocritical to me if she wants to criticize entertainment. I felt very inclined to give my opinion on this memoir because she's asking the reader to do something, to act, to get involved based on her claims, based on her plight. And I just see a person who's been through a lot, who hates men. And I believe that her experiences have led her there, to have so many bad experiences that she sees the world through that lens. But I cannot blindly hate all men, and I don't really believe in following along in her cult of man-hating activists. I love that more people, more celebrities are feeling more free and open to be able to come forth and tell their stories and share, because I do think that it was really unfortunate that these powerful people were able to intimidate people so much and just commit these horrendous crimes in the open and no one stops them. But that's changing now, and it's wonderful. And I've noticed the other girl, was she in iCarly? She was in the other Nickelodeon show. Nichols is her last name. I've noticed she's been doing a string of podcasts now, and she's like actively working to change things for the industry, for children, and I don't know, get people trying to come up with a solution. Like, should kids not even act? Should kids not even ever be in the entertainment industry? Because, like, are any children who are in the entertainment business, like, do they come out better for it? I'm not seeing very much evidence of that. So I'm really happy for her that she can do something with her pain and her anger and her experiences in a positive way. I think that even though in ways I cannot see eye to eye with her, I can stand back and see her personality. I feel like I kind of have a feel for who she is. And I guess that's really all I have to say about this book. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.